Hey everyone, and welcome back to a short and hopefully quite relaxed series of little videos that I want to do. This was inspired by videos that I've been watching for a while by Q-Star, and I don't know if you know Q-Star, but I really like his stuff. He does a lot of kind of like Reddit content, but with like really funny and interesting commentary, and I really kind of appreciate that. And I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a huge fan of Reddit, and I can literally spend hours on there just like scrolling through and reading people's stories and stuff, and I always have an opinion. I don't really comment very much, that's not really kind of like my style, but in my head I'm always like, ooh, I'm on your side, ooh, I'm on the other person's side, ooh, no, you shouldn't have done that, ooh, yes, I agree with that, and all kinds of stuff like that. I'm one of those people, but it's all in my head. So I figured I would make a kind of like Q-Star inspired video about one of my favourite subreddits. And today we're just going to be calling this subreddit Am I the Bad Guy? Because you know I'm not the most comfortable with swearing all that often, so sometimes I like to try and avoid it. So we're going to be calling it that, but you may know it more as this. I kind of wanted to make a couple of short videos about this because I do worry sometimes that my content is quite long and that can be a little bit off-putting for people. So for one thing I wanted to do a few shorter videos, and for another, I always feel like the kind of questions asked on there open up some really interesting discussions, not only about that specific case and topic, but about kind of anything. It could be about family relationships, pet ownership, and it could be about education and life choices and all kinds of things like that. I think there's always a lot more we can take away from a lot of these posts than just, is this person bad or is this person bad? I think there's a lot more complicated stuff going on and a lot more interesting stuff we can talk about, and that's kind of my aim with these videos. I want to use some posts that I found interesting and intriguing to kind of try and open up some other discussions on bigger topics. So I'm going to film a couple of these videos today and then post them over the next couple of weeks and stuff, so keep an eye out for them, but just know this is the first one with the introductory bit and stuff. Okay, I'm done rambling. Let's jump into today's post. So the first one I want to talk about is titled, Am I the Bad Guy for Cutting My Daughter Off Because I Think She Ruined Her Own Career? I always find it very interesting how these titles kind of lean you in one direction or the other, and you can tell a hell of a lot what the post is thinking based on what title they use. In this case, I was like, oh, well, if she ruined her own career, then, I don't know, maybe she does deserve, I don't want to say teaching a lesson, but you know what I mean. But then again, you have to start thinking, well, what was the career? How old is she? What do you mean by cutting her off? If she has a career, why were you still financially supporting her? And these were all my kind of questions going in. And then you read the post, and your entire view changes. My 26-year-old daughter was a PhD student at a university. She got a stipend, I think that's how you pronounce that, right? But I helped her pay her rent so she could get a better apartment and buy better clothes. However, in July, she starts telling her father and I that her advisor keeps saying that he really likes her. Her father and I both know our daughter is the type to get rather neurotically distressed when there's a disturbance of any sort in her life. So we tell her that if he's just relaying his feelings, she should focus on her work, and that it's better than her advisor hating her. Then come August, and she's complaining that he keeps setting meeting times late, after hours, and after she's filed a complaint, her life there has been a living hell. She then said she was done and wanted to leave the university. Her dad and I are furious because she essentially encountered feelings from a co-worker, which might have happened in every professional environment, and instead of dealing with it person to person like a grown-up, she goes straight to administrative figures. Now all the effort we invested in her graduate education is going down the drain, and she's saying that her advisor will probably badmouth her to potential employers since her employment opportunities are in the research field. And it's a shame because previously she'd been doing better than her peers and getting ahead, but then she goes and decides to shake things up with her advisor. As a result, we told her that since she made the decision to torpedo her reputation and career, what she does from here on out is up to her. My husband and I will no longer be sending her money for rent and any other expenses. Am I the bad guy? She essentially antagonized a guy who could have helped her advance in her career, and obviously university administration agrees since they didn't take action against said advisor. My other daughter, 23, also had a guy at work take a liking to her, and instead of trying to get him fired, he was actually able to help her get ahead. It's been like a week since I read this post, and I'm still angry every time I read it. This woman is not just a bad parent, she is a bad person. I would not want to go to her for advice with anything. Let's just objectively review what happened here. A woman was getting harassed, not just by a co-worker, but by her advisor, her mentor, someone in a position of power, someone with power and influence over her and her career. She was being sexually harassed by him. And when she was like, no, I can't deal with this anymore, you blamed her. He was the one who took advantage of his position, and he shouldn't have done that. She had every right to complain about it. The administration might not have been able to do anything because of certain rules, them needing kind of like proof and all kinds of things, but just because they can't do anything, it doesn't mean it didn't happen and that it wasn't bad and wrong. The woman here, the daughter, has done absolutely nothing wrong. She didn't torpedo her career, she didn't ruin her career. She saw a situation she was uncomfortable with, and she acted responsibly. The person entirely at fault here is her advisor, her mentor, who took advantage of that situation. If you, as her parents, can't see that, and are just gonna blame her for being a victim, you're awful, awful people. This reminds me so much of, like, the times when I would come home from school in tears because people had been mean to me, and I went through quite a lot in school, and it was some pretty bad bullying, and I would come home and tell my parents, and my mum would just be like, oh, keep your head down and get on with it. Oh, they're rubbish. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, you know, they'll be gone in a few years. I'm like, yeah, okay. So now I don't have to see them anymore now that I'm older. But it took years of counselling and therapy to even start to get over what people in school did to me. It made me not want to go to school every day. I am very, very lucky that I was, like, quite, I don't want to say, like, oh, I'm naturally smart, but, like, yeah, no, I was naturally quite a gifted student, and I was very good at learning for myself, which was lucky, because I didn't want to be in classes. I was very distracted in classes because people were saying nasty things to me. I was a mess all the time, emotionally. Yeah, if I hadn't been able to, like, go away and work by myself independently, I would have been screwed education-wise, and that's not fair. I went to people I trusted, like, or I was supposed to be able to trust, like my parents, and to some of the school teachers and stuff like that for help, and no one helped me. So I have so much sympathy for this woman, because clearly this is what she's going through here. She's gone to her parents for help with something very serious, and which could be emotionally and physically very dangerous for her, and they've just said, screw it. Yes, the parents are the bad guys here, not only because they're cutting her off financially for something that wasn't her fault, but because they're not listening to her, they're not seeing how serious this is, and they are victim blaming, which is terrible with anyone, never mind your own daughter. It makes me so genuinely angry that there are people out there who don't see that something like this is not the woman's fault, you know, and I say woman because that's what it is in this case. This could happen to anyone. This could happen to a man or a non-binary person as well. The point is, people in positions of power shouldn't take advantage of those in their care, and that's what this mentor did. When people like this mother see and hear about situations like this, and their response is to say, like, oh, well, maybe you should have taken advantage of it to get ahead in your career. Maybe you should have given him what he wanted. And I know she didn't explicitly say that, but that last line about her other daughter greatly implies it. When women say things like that, when people say things like that, and when they say things like, oh, don't rock the boat, oh, don't ruin this man's career over something so small and trivial, it's not small and trivial. When you see these situations and you tell people to get over it, to make the most of it, to not complain, to not rock the boat, it only makes it worse. It gives the men who do, or the people who do things like this, so much more power because they think they can get away with it. This is how people like Harvey Weinstein got away with it for so long. This is how people like Jeffrey Epstein got away with it for so long. And all these other awful, awful people in positions of power, often with money, who use their status and money to hurt other people, to hurt vulnerable people, to take advantage of people beneath them, essentially. It's not even just the big, powerful people as well. You see it with people on YouTube. It happens all the time. I was watching a Creepshow art video yesterday about some guy who was like, 20, and he was getting these like 16 and 17-year-old fans of his to like send him naked photos and stuff, like taking advantage of children like that. Look at Darby Vanity, look at Austin Jones, look at Onision to some extent. These people are literally in positions of power taking advantage of those beneath them, and unless people call it out and say this is wrong and take steps to stop it, it's just going to keep happening over and over again. That's how it's happened in the past, and now finally with things like the Me Too movement, it's starting to, I guess, be questioned a bit more. It's starting to be taken a bit more seriously. Then you have women like this, whose daughter comes to her and she just blows it off. She gets mad at the daughter for being a victim. Like, that's her fault. Okay. This was way more of a rant than I expected it to be, but they're just my thoughts on this topic. I would love to hear what you think of this. If you were the mother in this situation, what would you do? If you were the daughter in this situation and you had an advisor who was basically in charge of both your current PhD and your entire future career, who was trying to take advantage of you, who was making unwanted passes at you like this, how would you respond and react? What do you think she should do? How do you think we as a society can make sure that women like this, and men and non-binary people who face this kind of harassment in the workplace, how do you think we as a society can make them feel safer and more comfortable and not just blame them for being victims? That's kind of what I want to ask you guys here and get your thoughts on this. And also, if anything similar has ever happened to you, I'd love to hear your stories. I know it's a difficult thing to talk about, but if you're brave enough to share, I think it would be amazing and it would help some other people, especially if you can share what you did to kind of get out of that situation or make sure the person who harassed you was punished accordingly or whatever. I think there's a lot we can learn from you guys sharing your stories, and I'd really appreciate if you did. But for now, that is where I'm going to end this short little video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for letting me rant about this kind of thing in a completely unscripted, unplanned way. Keep an eye out for the other videos that I'm about to go film now, and I'll probably create a whole little playlist of this kind of content for you guys as well. But for now, thank you for watching. I appreciate you so much. I will see you again very, very soon. And because videos of this topic are likely to get demonetized, if you can, please consider supporting me over on Patreon or via PayPal. If you can, there's no pressure. But if you can, I would be very, very, very grateful. It just helps me keep making these kinds of videos for you guys. But obviously, there's no pressure. Put yourselves first. Make sure you're okay. Yeah, okay, I'm done. I'm shutting up. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye!